warning. I'm going to go ahead and resume the loop here just to see the direction that this thing is moving. Right now, you can see on your screen there, just to the south now, it looks like of Hartsburg, right along St. Martin's, moving northeastward. So again, it looks like it's heading towards just south of Ashland, towards Guthrie. Right now is this circulation, tight circulation that has indicated that we have shown that could be indicative of a tornado that is either on the ground or could be close to the path of this thing soon, based on the direction.
It's at 35 miles an hour.
35 miles an hour. Okay, so Riley Fannin has just told me it's moving to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. I'm going to change the storm motion here real quick. Okay.
Hey, I'm going to gather everyone else up here at our station as it is heading in our direction and kind of get them prepared to seek shelter if we need to.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. I'll stay on. Okay, so we are receiving more information that this circulation is heading in our direction. I'm going to stay on the air as long as possible, if not for the entire duration, as we can here. So, all right, so as we just mentioned, 35 miles per hour towards the northeast. So again, Hartsburg is in the path of this. Oldham, Ashland, just north of Guthrie, again, heading towards the station in our direction as well. We're going to be keeping an eye on this circulation. That tight green and red could be indicative of what could be a tornado on the ground right now. If it isn't already, it could be soon. So again, we urge everyone in the path of this to please take tornado precautions. That would be in the centermost part of your home. On the lowest floor, a basement, if you have one, that would also be most preferable, away from any windows, away from any electronics, as we are keeping an eye on this circulation. There is also concerns of some circulation just to the south of that. That has prompted a severe warning just east of Lake of the Ozarks region towards St. Elizabeth. Iberia is also included in that. But taking, again, a broad, expanded look. If you are just now getting here or got here a few minutes ago, I'm meteorologist Trevor Rubidoux. We are tracking what is a tornado warning, and it is a radar-indicated tornado warning. It has not been confirmed to be on the ground as of this moment, but there has been enough circulation close to the ground, or close enough to the ground, that there has been a tornado warning issued by the National Weather Service in St. Louis. And so that is why we are on the air. At the moment, we're taking the broad look overhead. We've got an area of storms pretty much encompassing the entire region from north down to the south. Everywhere from Warsaw over to Camden up towards Moberly, we've got that line of storms. Most of this is non-severe, with the exception of a few spots. The Lake of the Ozarks region, parts of Morgan County extending over into Marys County, including Vienna and Lynn, also included in that, Moniteau County as well. But we're really keeping an eye on this circulation moving into parts of Boone County right now, heading towards Callaway County. I'm going to swap back over to velocity so we can get a good idea of what we're looking at. Again, so some tight circulation there. It's not overly tight, but there is still enough circulation there that it could be indicative of a potential tornado. Holt Summit is also included in this, Boydsville as well. If you are in the path of this circulation, please, we advise you to take cover as soon as possible and wait for these storms to pass. As of this moment, this has not been a tornado that is confirmed on the ground, but there is potentially enough circulation that we could have one right now on the ground and nobody can see it, or it could be on the ground very soon if it isn't already. Scanning through the National Weather Service chat right now with St. Louis, trying to get information from them.
Yeah, Trevor, looks like they were mentioning two areas of potential rotation between Marion and Hartsburg.
So I was kind of wondering the same thing. It does look like there could be two different areas of rotation within this, as that's being told to us by the National Weather Service in St. Louis. So they're saying two potentially different circulations near Hartsburg and Marion. So again, Hartsburg, which is one of the areas that we were talking about already that could be in the line of this right now, crossing through Hartsburg at this moment pretty closely. So if you're in Hartsburg right now, if you're catching up with us in Hartsburg, watching this from Oldham, Marion, Pierpoint, Boydsville, Guthrie, Holt Summit, you are in the path of this potential tornado. At this moment, we do not know for sure if it is a tornado on the ground or not, but nonetheless, we are taking precautions in this tornado warning. Waiting for any more information from the National Weather Service. It doesn't look like it. So once again, this is a tornado warning, radar indicated tornado for circulation in parts of Boone County. Right now, this is heading into parts of Boone County and Callaway County are the areas of the most concern right now as we track that circulation just near Hartsburg, south of Ashland, southwest of Guthrie right now, and again in Marion as well. And these are tracking to the northeast. So into Hartsburg or maybe just past Hartsburg to the northeast of that. So again, Ashland is included in this as well as the next area that could potentially be hit by this. So is Boydsville, just north of Holt Summit into New Bloomfield. You're included in that as well. South of Columbia, parts of Columbia are included in this tornado warning, so we're going to have to be keeping an eye on that too. Rockbridge, St. Park, Three Creeks, Deer Park are all included in this tornado warning as well. Tracking this circulation right now. See if we can get any other. I'm not seeing anything else at the moment.
Nope, no new information yet from the folks in the National Weather Service, but still, especially there, Trevor, to the west of Hartsburg, I think that's where our main rotation is, and that looks like it would pass more or less right up towards Ashland once it moves east or northeast of Hartsburg.
Yeah, okay. So that area there.
Yeah, that'd be take it through places like Oldham, Oldham, Three Creeks as well, up there towards Ashland on 63.
Yeah, so there's that circulation that Riley was just talking about west of Hartsburg. Again, moving up northeast towards Ashland. Oldham is in this as well. That's where we're keeping the closest eye on. Heading up to the northeast. So again, Hartsburg, just to the west of that, Hartsburg up towards Oldham, Ashland. Again, Guthrie potentially as well, Boydsville. North New Bloomfield, Three Creeks area, as Riley had mentioned, all in the path of this potential tornado on the ground. We still have not received any information if this is a tornado on the ground, but there is enough circulation that they have issued this tornado warning right now. Taking a look at it, I have
I'm not seeing anything on the debris indicator.
I'm sorry?
I'm not seeing anything on the debris indicator that would scream debris being lofted at this time.
Yeah, that was something that I was thinking of looking at here pretty soon as well. No debris signature, so that is good. If there's no debris signature, that would mean that there's a good chance that the tornado may not be on the ground.
Yeah, it could still just be elevated circulation in the storm itself.
Elevated circulation, and elevated circulation is still something that we're concerned about because that could mean that if the tornado isn't on the ground, it might be soon. And so that's why we're keeping an eye on this. So there's that circulation. Looking mostly at west of Hartsburg, heading towards the northeast. So if you're joining us, if you've just joined us recently, we're live right now for a tornado warning in parts of Boone and Callaway County. Right now, circulation is in southern Boone County near Ashland and parts of Hartsburg. You can see the tornado warning has just been modified there. So parts of Moniteau County are no longer included in this.
Yeah, so now it's just Cole, Callaway, and southern Boone.
Yep. Cole, Callaway, and southern Boone County, this tornado warning right now. This is the only tornado warning we have at the moment. There are other areas of broad circulation to the south and strong line of storms in that direction that has prompted some severe weather warnings. Most of us are not under any severe weather warnings at all. A lot of this is just broad rain and thunderstorms. But at the moment, we are tracking the highest area of concern, which is this circulation embedded within this top line here in parts of Boone, southern Boone and Callaway County, parts of Cole County as well, or northern Cole County. Okay, we'll look at the velocity signature again.
So yeah, latest from the National Weather Service is that area of circulation now just north of Hartsburg.
Yeah, so we're still tracking really the same area. I'll pull out the pointer here again.
And it's still moving at about 35 miles an hour to the northeast. That's the latest. When they modified the tornado warning, they kept the speed the same. Okay,
so so this is the circulation that Riley was talking about just now. So just to the northeast of Hartsburg, so this is directly south or southwest of Ashland, continuing to move towards the northeast. So I'll put out a cone here just to see who all is in the path of this. Again, at this time, we have not seen any confirmation if this is a tornado on the ground or not, but nevertheless, there is strong enough circulation that there could be one. And so we urge everyone in the path of this to please take your tornado safe locations. Again, that would be anywhere in the bottommost portion of your house, away from any windows, away from any electronics, a basement if you have one, and wait for these storms to pass. Passing through Ashland, that strong area of rotation, or at least broad area of rotation, there could be some upper level rotation that could lead to a tornado if there wasn't a small one on the ground already. Maybe there could be one. A lot of times tornadoes like this, they can touch the ground very briefly and then lift, go a few miles or maybe several, and then touch the ground briefly again. So we have to continue tracking that circulation.
And just an update for everybody who lives in Boone County north of I-70, the sirens will not have sounded for you, as they will only sound for portions of Boone County that are within the polygon. So those of you who are with us and live north of Columbia in Boone County outside of the polygon, the tornado sirens will not be sounding for you because you are not within the tornado warning polygon. They were only being sounded for locations within the polygon. Just want to, reference that for everybody who might be joining us from north of I-70.
All right, that's a good thing to add as well. So this, as Riley had mentioned, that this tornado warning doesn't include the northern portions of Columbia there, or northern portions of Boone County there. But if you are in the southern portion of it, you likely may be hearing tornado sirens. But we're tracking that strong circulation, which will now be just to the southwest of Ashland. Again, moving towards the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. I want to take a slightly bigger cone here to go outside, just outside of the tornado warning. So we'll do a modified one. If the National Weather Service does deem it necessary to continue this warning, parts of Ashland would be the areas most affected. Ashland, you could be receiving this rotation here in the next few minutes. Heading up north there, just south of Three Creeks, Millersburg, Earl, Kingdom City, Concord. You can see potential times on the screen there. Those aren't exact times, but based on the storm motion, those are the times that you could expect this storm to be reaching. As of right now, Millersburg and Earl are not within the tornado warning, but that is the direction that the storm is tracking. And so if the tornado warning would be extended, you may be included within that. You're just joining us recently. This is I'm meteorologist Trevor Rubido. We have meteorologist Riley Fannin here as well. We're tracking circulation in parts of southern Boone County heading towards Callaway County, and that has prompted a tornado warning. Again, the strongest circulation is just south of Ashland, and so there could be a potential stronger circulation there if there's not a tornado on the ground, which as of this moment we have not received any confirmation that there is. There may be one soon. Checking through the National Weather Service chat here to see if we can get any other information on this. Regardless, we do, again, urge everyone within the path of this to please take your tornado-safe locations. Bottommost portion of your home, bottom floor, in a bathroom of some kind, away from any windows, away from any electronics. A basement, if you have one, would also be preferable. Take an expanded view here. It doesn't look like, again, take a broad look very briefly at what we're looking at for tonight's system. Again, we have that line of showers and storms. This is ahead of a warm front, and we do have a lot of moisture and instability with this system. But as of right now, most of what we're seeing is non-severe storms, especially if you're towards the north, far north of Columbia, north of I-70, broad rain and thunderstorms. And to the south, parts of the Lake of the Ozarks region and east of there, is a severe thunderstorm warning. But as of right now, the strongest area of circulation is that area, South Boone heading towards Ashland. Again, Ashland in the direct path of this right now, heading up towards Boydville, just south of Three Creeks. North of New Bloomfield as well. North New Bloomfield, you could potentially be impacted by this. Strong circulation, as this is the area of the most concern at this moment. Still looking any other information from the National Weather Service. It doesn't look like we're getting no new updates. So again, just keeping an eye on this circulation here. I'm going to go back to the sweeping velocity to show you what we're looking at. See if I can get this off right here. I'll slow this down. So the area that we are the most concerned about right now is this strong circulation just entering Ashland. That has been deemed as the strongest area of circulation, and there is pretty broad circulation there, and that's moving towards the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So I'll get the cone back on here once more. We can get a zoomed in look on this. This is the tornado warning that we have for our viewing area. So this will be entering Ashland now. So if you're not already in your tornado safe locations, you should please do so, as this is a potential tornado. We have not received any information at this time or confirmation that this is a tornado on the ground, but there is strong enough circulation that there could be one. Upper level circulation in the storm tends to mean that there could be a tornado soon if there isn't one on the ground already. So Ashland up towards Millersburg and Earl. Again, Three Creeks is also within that. North Guthrie as well. If you're in the path of this, please take your tornado safe precautions at this time and wait for these storms to pass. If you were in the initial path of this tornado warning in parts of Moniteau County and parts of Cole County as well, at this time you are no longer in any severe concern with this particular cell.
Yeah, that'll be places like Jefferson City. This is now to the north of you. That said, I mean, we still have plenty of more storms off to the south and southwest that are going to be pushing in. So, yes, the current threat of this active tornado warning is no longer in place for places like Jefferson City. We're not done with the storms just yet, so we can't fully let our guard down. But, you know, for residents of Jefferson City and areas south, this current active tornado warning is no longer posing an immediate threat to you.
Yes. So as Riley had just mentioned, the initial tornado warning with this system had included parts of Jefferson City. It no longer does. It's been modified. So at the immediate moment, large portions of Jefferson City are not included within this. So there's no concern there. The concern lies in southern Boone County and parts of Callaway County as this cell moves towards the northeast. So again, that's Ashland once again in areas in that immediate area. South Three Creeks over towards Boydsville, Guthrie, North New Bloomfield also included in that. Millersburg, we're keeping an eye on you as well. Potentially, if this tornado warning does get extended, we could be potentially seeing that circulation heading right towards your front door as well. So at this time, as we are continuing to track this system, please make sure you are taking your tornado safe precautions. The best place to be at this time would be in a basement if you have one. If you don't have that, go towards the bottommost portion and innermost portion of your home, away from any and all windows, away from any and all electronics, and duck and cover and just wait for these storms to pass, as we still do not have any confirmation of a tornado on the ground at this time, but there could be one, and we just don't see. We don't have any confirmation. So again, there's the area of circulation there.
And even out here towards New Bloomfield, between Holt Summit and our station here in New Bloomfield, I mean, we're hearing it right now. This storm is ramping up a little bit. The rain is getting pretty intense. So they're even outside of the direct couplet of circulation where this tornado warning has been, given. This is still a pretty strong storm outside of the direct path of the tornado warning. So even residents who might not be in the direct path will want to avoid, being outdoors or being by windows, being by doors or anything like that. Just staying safe and getting inside and removing yourself from, anything like that will be good.
And we are getting some reports that there are several spotters in the Jefferson City area that are not seeing anything. At this time of the day, it would be hard to see anything unless you're really close to it. But nevertheless, there's the circulation that we're keeping an eye on right there. At this point, it's crossing Ashland and heading towards south of the Three Creeks area. That is the area deemed as the concern. You see the green and the red real close to each other like that. That is indication of some broad to strong rotation within this storm. So let me take a back look at this again in a more expanded look. So here's the cell that we're looking at. This northern portion of this main line that has prompted many severe warnings. We've seen many severe warnings for large hail and damaging winds along this within the past couple of hours as it continues to pass. There is isolated areas getting tons of rain as well. Well, but this particular cell moving up towards the northeast, crossing Ashland right now, the back end of this line, we are seeing some strong circulation there. So that is why we are on the air right now, as we are taking precautions as this system continues to move through. No other, we have not received any other reports at this time.
No, the last thing was the spotters in Jefferson City. New in from the National Weather Service office. The tornado warned storm has been weakening over the last several minutes, which makes sense given it's outrunning the more favorable environment. So overall, the rotation does seem to be broader, as well as the lack of reports coming in, meaning they're likely at this point to not issue a new warning downstream from this one. So they'll likely allow this one to either expire, or if the storm continues to weaken a bit more, they'll likely cancel this warning. As again, as they've noted, rotation does not seem as tight. It seems a bit more broad, and overall, with the lack of reports, they don't feel it necessary to continue this warning downstream, meaning places, to the north and east of this active tornado warning likely won't see another one issued at this time.
Okay, so as Riley had mentioned, that would mean if they're not going to extend this warning, that would mean that areas toward the northeast in the direction of this storm, like Millersburg and areas around there, Earl, would not see this tornado warning. But at this time, we'll continue to stay on the air just to track this. In the event that if it does begin to spin up again, if that rotation does tighten once more, we'll continue to track it. Systems like this do this all the time, where a lot of times you can have these quick spin-ups in a line, and then they kind of broaden out, they weaken, and then they may spin up and get stronger again, and then drop another tornado briefly. We saw this just last Friday, where systems, these kinks in these main lines would drop a quick tornado, it would spin up and then go right back up in the air and then spin up again a few miles down the line potentially. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that as a potential with this system as well. But nevertheless, as of this moment, you can see the brighter colors and the broad circulation there. This is what prompted the warning to begin with. And again, that continues to move towards the northeast, that it now would have passed Ashland at this time. So areas that were to the south of that. So if you joined us earlier and you were live for this, areas of Hartsburg you should be in the clear at this point, as the area of circulation has passed you. So Hartsburg, you should now be in the clear. Same with Oldham. And areas to the south and southwest of that, so that would include Wilton as well. You should no longer be concerned with this system right now, but areas to the northeast, still keeping an eye on this. National Weather Service, of course, just did tell us that they're unlikely to issue any downstream tornado warnings with this, but we will still be keeping an eye on it here. This tornado warning will expire at 9:30, and so unless they cancel it early, we'll continue to stay on the air until then, keeping an eye on this system right here. So at this point, it's right around the Three Creeks area now as it continues to move towards the northeast. That's that broad area of circulation. If you've just joined us recently within the past few minutes, I'm meteorologist Trevor Rubidoux. We also have meteorologist Riley Fannin in the studio here as well. We are on air for this tornado warning, this radar indicated tornado warning in areas of southern Boone and parts of Callaway County for some strong circulation that has since weakened. But there was some strong circulation, and it does look like the National Weather Service did just cancel that tornado warning.
Yeah.
All right, well then, that should do it for us then. We will continue to keep an eye on these storms as they pass. Again, it is very likely that at some point one of these other storms may do a quick spin up, and there may be another tornado warning in the future. So, of course, we urge you to please continue staying weather aware tonight as we have these storms moving through. We'll also have another round of storms tomorrow. But for now, we'll let you go and get you back to live broadcasting. Thank you for being with us tonight.